Sorry to keep you guys waiting. Jeez, we got a full gang tonight, though. Awesome.
right?
Yeah. All right, we're good to
We
go.
heard they had to
Okay, doke.
put an extra
Call the
person
meeting to
up
order
there.
and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doke. Roll call, please.
Sosowski,
Here?
My daughter made it.
I'm sorry, here.
Fredericks,
Here.
Height,
Here.
Lundman,
Here.
Dedra,
Here.
Snyder,
Here.
Thorne,
Here.
Weber.
Here.
Okay, doke. That brings us to approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Lindman, second by Clark. Discussion, in favor? Motion carries. Okey doke. Okay, and then how about a motion to approval of minutes?
A motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. Motion by
Support.
Thorne and support
Second by Weber.
Weber. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carries. That brings us to public hearing. We have none. Correspondence, we have none. And call the public, new. New business items, 0. Pending business items, 0. But our favorite topic, old table business.
Bounce back.
Item 11, yeah. Hot tubs and
Like a
spa
river
ordinance
ball.
amendments. We have lots of fun stuff to talk about on that, and I think it would be great if Sally could fill us in a little bit on
Mr.
that.
Chairman, did motion to untable.
Oh, thank you. I would
I'll
love,
move to untable the hot tub and spa ordinance amendments discussion item.
I will second it.
okay, I think you got your beat. That was Patrick Brzezowski. Was it Thorne? Okay, motion by Lindman, second by Thorne. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hot tubs and spa ordinance amendments are officially untabled. And if you checked your packet, you'll see that there's been lots of, Sally's been hard at work. And if you want to kick over and explain a little bit, Sally, be my guest.
Well, what I understand is the ordinance was sent over to the village council for approval, and some residents attended that meeting and said they had comments, and so the council sent the ordinance back to you all, and at your last meeting, you received some public comments. Now, I was not at that meeting, so you're going to tell me what those comments are and what changes you'd like to make, if any, based on those comments.
So I think there was, so the comment, and maybe Tabitha will keep me honest here.
It's in the minutes from,
It's in the, but he had basically, I think, two areas of concern. I think one was that a hot tub is considered an accessory structure, and if you already have a shed or something that, within the yard, that this goes against the percentage of allowable accessory structures you can have. And I think his other point was he thought that it was the fines could be a bit onerous, if those were the two that I recalled.
I did watch the meeting, I wasn't here, and he did bring up the fact that he didn't like the fact that you had to have a locking tub, right? A locking cover.
That's state law.
Which is a state law, we
Yeah.
knew that, yeah. And that was some of the comments that were brought up at council too. But we can't do anything about that.
I'm not aware of a hot tub that doesn't come with a locking
Right,
cover.
exactly. yeah.
I mean, it's not much of a lock, but they're locks.
Whether or not you lock it is up to you, but
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was brought up at council, and I believe this gentleman did too, that was here last meeting, was the fact that they said that there was not enough information brought out that we were doing anything on this ordinance. I'm sorry, but it was publicized as much as we can do. We discussed at council quite a bit of how we can try to get the word out. I mean, we're going to try to make some email blasts through the village to try to, keep residents up, and maybe Facebook page, yeah.
The best.
But, we had a lot of discussion on this ordinance previously, and we had a fair amount of council too, so.
Tabitha, why don't you explain what the noticing requirements are for a public hearing for an ordinance amendment?
As far as the public hearing, you said?
Yeah.
Right, so how do you notify the public that the planning commission has been working on an ordinance and would like public's input?
So for public hearings, aside from the legal advertisement in a paper, we put it on our website. We have now an actual page that says public hearings. Now, every time there's a public hearing for any board or commission, it is now put on there. That kind of came out of this conversation. So other than the paper and on the agendas prior, that's what we did. Now we're doing it on the website so that they are listed. The minute the notice goes in the paper, it goes on the website and it's there.
And also, there's notifications on some email blasts that we're sending out on our village email.
There are notifications on email blasts as well.
Yep.
That go out.
Well, just, I'm sure you guys are aware, but a public hearing must be noticed in a newspaper of general circulation, and it must be in the newspaper at least 15 days before your meeting. And the village has been following those notification requirements for decades. So I think the additional efforts are going to be well received, because I think that's probably more typical what a resident would look for. Is it the Spinal Tap that you put the?
Spinal Column used to be, but
Spinal Column.
that's
Not anymore.
No longer available, so what newspaper do you use?
Now it is, we've only been using it for the last month, so I'm not sure of the name, but it's a legal notice paper.
Oakland Legal
Oakland Legal News, I believe.
News, yeah.
Is what it is in.
And I'll tell you what, but there's not that many people that get newspapers or get their news from newspapers anymore. Like Brandon said, I mean, a lot of their, social media stuff is a way to get information and stuff around, so.
Is there any, what are the legal requirements to post on, because I know our Wolverine Lake Facebook page is ran privately, right?
That is, we have an official Facebook page that we monitor for
Right.
the
Sure.
office. It's the unofficial page that gets a lot more traffic.
Right, so,
So we
Right.
post on our official page, and then anybody who can share it to the unofficial page is how our
Okay.
official news
I mean-
goes to that.
I would be happy to share that over every time. That way it's consistent and people can see it at both avenues.
Well, what we typically suggest is you follow the legal requirement.
Right.
And the legal requirement is currently in a newspaper of general circulation. Now, you can put it on your website, you can post it at the village hall, you can put it on a bulletin board at the village hall, and I always suggest people do that too. But if you start putting it in unofficial channels and somebody forgets, or, it's not consistent, you can be accused of not doing what you're supposed to be doing, and really what you were doing was over and above what you were supposed to
Right.
be doing. So it gets a little tricky, but I do think the village should use their official channels, whatever they are, whether they be their own Facebook page, their own website, and put out notices that way.
But it can still, to Brandon's point,
Oh, he certainly-
the village is doing it in a very regimented way. And if any other resident wants to share it, then that's
Absolutely, no
that's fine.
problem.
What about the electric sign things we have, like on the corner,
You certainly can use those, but those are not, it's not.
just above and beyond also?
The only problem with the signs is that you could only put so many messages on,
Right.
actually make it efficient as far as circulation, and typically with events and other things, there's only so much room
Right.
to have that sign actually do what it's supposed to.
Check our site.
Well, again, I think it's up to the public. I really think it's up to the public to look at a website once in a while if they want to be involved in what we're doing. I mean, we can only do so much. And that's what we're trying to do on a council level, is try to get the word out, but you can only do so much. You can't make people read, so
With the public hearing
unfortunately.
held by planning last month, besides the new page that we made that's specifically for public hearing, we also put it on the homepage under the latest news as one of the scrolls, you know. I believe the Halloween decorating contest was there, and a couple other things, but we made it an actual news feed
Right.
right there in the news section as well that would take you to the public hearing page that would give you all the details. Layered it on there as much as we can think to layer it.
I guess I'm wondering what you could do that would help people that don't normally look at those type of things. And you're saying, well, you know, I have a hot tub. I didn't know that since I had a hot tub, I had to look at the website every month because you might come up with some new rule for me. And, I mean, I don't have a hot tub. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I can see where people would, so I suggest a town crier. Just kidding. I don't know, that's why I like the idea of that sign up there, but I agree. It's
Or
just,
Baylor.
Most people just cruise by the
How
sign.
many people are involved in Lake?
that'd be
Well, that's
expensive.
besides the point, I guess. I just wanted to make sure that we brought that up because
If we did that
it is
for
a
every-
problem
I mean, I
to get
think if-
communication out, so.
If we do what we're doing now, and if we can be consistent and share it to the private Facebook group, I mean, what else could people want aside from door knockers?
Well, I don't read this,
I'm not
whatever
gonna read
Oakland,
that.
what was it called?
Right? Like,
Oakland Legal Notice? I wouldn't even know where to get that.
Right.
I thought they were in the spinal column,
and
just
people
like you
don't-
did.
people don't
Spinal column
use
went away.
newspapers
Yeah.
anymore.
Spinal column's gone.
I like the spinal column.
So I think we're doing more than what we, I don't think we should be worried about doing more than what we're doing now that we're on Facebook and email blasts. That's,
Agreed.
Yep.
I mean, if they find out to come complain.
Some of the other comments that were raised in the public hearing, though, were that hot tubs are considered an accessory structure, and that allowing them in a lakefront yard and some of the other items that we're allowing is in conflict with our accessory structure. And should a hot tub really be an accessory structure? I mean, it's not permanently attached, it's sitting on the ground as an electrical hookup, but
Use a swimming pool, though. An above-ground pool is not attached.
true.
but I think the concern was not that it was an accessory structure, but that some of the language about an accessory structure, I think it all came down to the 10%. And that if you had a shed, more than likely you couldn't have a hot tub also.
Well, we're allowed two accessory structures by ordinance.
Well, I think it was getting into also with, if it does get approved, the chicken committee, right? So if you have a chicken coop and a shed, you now can no longer have a hot tub, right?
Unless you have.
You have too many hot. You have too many. You need to chill out.
It's the chicken.
Or somebody, for instance, like me, I have a detached garage, a shed. Now I'm not allowed to have a hot tub.
So I think that's the point he was trying to make should a hot tub be considered an accessory structure for the purpose of the 10% rule? Meaning, not allowing a hot tub if you already have a shed or a detached garage, or a pool in a shed.
Right.
You can't have a hot tub now.
Well, I'm gonna
And I
go-
think we
I'm
just
gonna-
need to make a conscious decision on what we want.
I gotta go a different way for a second. The reason we got this on planning commission to begin with was because we did not allow hot tubs in lakefront yards. Hot tubs are considered pools. We had a lot of people coming before ZBA that wanted to get a hot tub in a lakefront yard. So that's what the whole thing started with originally, right, Tabitha? So what we tried to do when we revisited this ordinance, and we tried to look at how to apply the fact that we could have hot tubs in a lakefront yard, right? So we needed to define hot tubs because if it wasn't defined, it was not defined in our ordinances, so they were considered a pool under our ordinance. So that's why we wanted to
break it up.
distinctly define hot tubs and spas.
Yeah.
So that's what we tried to do. And then we were looking at placement, and I think, my understanding was we decided that we were going to try to keep it within 15 feet of the house, right? Because we didn't want them down by the lakes. But I don't know if we really technically define that in this ordinance to only be in lakefront yards. I can't remember if we did or not. Because is this going to then affect somebody that is off the lake in their rear yard? That they have to have a tub within 15 feet of their house? Maybe they have a big backyard, maybe they have it 25 feet. Now, they're going to be non-compliant with that, so.
The 15-foot rule is for lakefront yards.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Yep.
So why do we have to call it an accessory structure?
Yeah, why aren't hot tubs their own category?
Can we just exclude it from the count of accessory structures? Or is that going to make its own problem?
But this, I guess some of it comes, how much,
Lot coverage, right?
yeah.
It falls under lot coverage.
So when you, I guess there's two things. So if you're on a lakefront, unless you are a legal non-conforming lot, you can't have a shed anywhere near the water, unless you're now a legal non-conforming. So there are no new sheds allowed on lakefront. So the lot coverage doesn't come into play as much
Right.
on lakefront. And if it's not lakefront, so therefore it's going to be very infrequent that that's going to be an issue. On not lakefront, it could be an issue, and Brandon's perfect example of that. So, but we also have the ZBA to solve those things. If there's something that's within, reason and rational, then the ZBA has the ability to prove it. So I don't think the ordinance can fix everything. You're trying to solve for the 90%, and the 10% are exceptions.
Well, that's what half the comments were that came to council, was this, what are we trying to do here? I mean, they thought that the village was trying to pull a fast one over people that had hot tubs. It's like, no, we're trying to solve a problem, not create one for a lot of people. So.
And as George said, if it's an existing nonconformity, this ordinance is not going to affect people that already have hot tubs.
Right, exactly.
Now, we did have, I think somebody else had the comment, I do have a question on why we would only allow a pool or a hot tub, but not both. And I know we have the language in there that says if it's an in-ground pool and it's built together, it counts as one. But if somebody is meeting all of the setbacks for both of those, I don't see that as an issue. So the hot tub has to be within 15 feet of a house, and it has to be further than 10 feet from a lot line. And as long as the pool fits in its geography, I don't think we should be that restrictive.
I agree with
Yeah.
you.
support that, too.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Mr. Weber, about that, because it was in, one of the things we were talking about, to bounce off Sally.
So is there anything, Sally, that would, is there any unintended consequence of allowing both?
I think we're just trying to, come to a reasonable number of things that could be in someone's yard that may be affecting the neighbors because it's a lakefront yard, maybe not affecting the neighbors without a lakefront yard, but that was my understanding of that decision.
And if you think about it that way, if your pool and hot tub are integrated together, that only would count as one accessory structure. So therefore, you could have a gazebo or cabana or whatever else, somewhere else in your yard or whatever the other accessory structure you had.
So should we remove the restriction that you can't have both a pool and a hot tub from the language before we send it back up?
I think so.
I don't see a reason why that
I would agree with that.
You don't use a pool in the winter, you use a hot tub in the winter. So it's,
You do.
Okay, so I don't know exactly where that's stated in
I'm
the,
looking for it too, but I'll
okay,
find it.
okay.
That's what she does.
And what about that thing about the number of accessory structures? What do we have it now? Two?
Two.
Well, I would just say that I wouldn't consider a hot tub an accessory structure. I mean, if you really want to
That is a
consider.
little more problematic.
Why is
because
that?
That's a little more problematic because a hot tub would meet the definition of an accessory structure in your ordinance. And if you start, picking things that you're not going to count as an accessory structure, I would not, if you
It
don't
would
want
be
to
an
count
easier way
it.
to do that. Just say, 2 accessory structures plus a hot tub.
Yeah, you could say that.
Or they're exempt.
Or they don't count towards the number of accessory structures, but.
But it is an
it's-
accessory.
But it is
Yeah,
an
that's-
accessory
that we could
structure.
do.
And
No difference.
you may, in the future, then be asked, well, what about, and I can't give you an example, but what about an outdoor chimney? What about
but
this?
but if
What about
we
that?
specifically put in the ordinance specific to a hot tub or a spa, I think we're okay on.
Because they're within
what
15
about-
feet of the house.
What about everything else? Because then everything else is everything else. I don't know.
You guys make up, clearly, you guys will decide, but, this is, sorry, hello. I just, when you start putting exceptions in, people will start questioning other things, and they will start asking. But,
I get what you're saying about pizza ovens and so forth, but hot tubs are common. The other things are kind of one-offs.
Which is when you would get a variance if you needed it.
Thing over the hot
It's
tub.
1280, Sally.
yeah,
The one across the-
Pergola or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can just strike that.
That's going to be a structure.
Okay, yeah, 1280.02.
Although it did say one swimming pool, it did say one swimming pool.
Is a swimming pool an accessory structure?
Yes.
So we're going to say a hot tub isn't?
I agree, that's why.
I'm trying to look at the overall.
Well, we just said that we're not going to say it's not an accessory structure.
Okay.
It is an accessory structure.
Okay.
I was just talking about limiting it from the count of how many you can have in the lakefront yard.
You determine a swimming pool.
Well, okay, but I mean, it's either, if it's an accessory structure, it either needs to be counted amongst all these, I mean,
Like, you're getting creative.
I can understand the overall intent of limiting accessory structures. I don't want to limit it to somebody that looks like Six Flags. So, if somebody's got,
And one hot tub. We're not going to have 15 hot tubs.
well, you got a hot tub, you got a pizza oven, I got my chimney, I want my outdoor this, and I want my
And you
whatever
can't
that.
have all that.
I understand. Yeah, well, I'm gonna put my chicken coop on top of the hot tub, but that's a different thing.
Well,
all in one.
It's the chicken's hot tub.
But the thing is once, I mean, if you look at the overall reason for limiting accessory structures, it doesn't matter if it's a hot tub or a shed or a chimney or whatever else, and the intent is to limit that amount of stuff in a lakeside yard.
Well, I hear where you're coming from, but my one take
actually in
on
any
that
yard.
is that a hot tub's only this tall.
Sure.
Those other structures are a lot taller and really block you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really want to talk about what I'd like to get rid of is all these people that got their boats under these covers. I can't see the lake anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That isn't in my yard, though.
I know. Well, it is their property. It's
Yes.
just
What
underwater.
Sam's proposing is that we strike 1280.02, type, size, and quantity permitted, which reads as the following. One of the following: swimming pool, spa, hot tub, or similar facility. Spas, hot tubs physically integrated into the side walls of an in-ground swimming pool are considered one facility.
Yeah.
So if we just take that whole piece away, the other definitions, I think,
Still works.
define it properly. Yeah.
I misspoke, Tom, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Existing ordinance says you can have one swimming pool. So what I think we would need to, instead of taking that out, I think we should say one swimming pool.
And one hot tub or spa.
Or similar facility.
Right, exactly.
Agreed.
Water entertainment center. So when you say similar facility, what does that mean?
That's all the crazy things that people are going to invent. That it's not exactly a spa.
Swim spa, but that's probably going to be too small to,
You know, someone could say that's a swimming pool, other
Yeah.
people could say that's a spa. There's going to be combinations and permutations and.
yep.
I got my shed next to my chimney.
But we define the size of a hot tub though in here,
Yes.
so it protects it
Exactly.
from.
And they can still get a variant.
So anything with bigger with water in it would be considered a
They
pool.
can have on a case-to-case basis.
So would you want me to also change the accessory structures, that section that says you can have 2 accessory structures in your yard, to say 2 accessory structures and a spa? Do you want me to make that change as well?
There was a problem with saying spas were exempt from accessory structures, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Well, there was a problem saying spas were not an accessory structure.
So if we said-
If you were saying that, then yes, there is an issue with that. I think they are an accessory structure because they meet the definition of the ordinance, but we could say, if you wanted to allow 2 accessory structures that are not defined and a spa are permitted.
Let me ask
Sounds
one other
fair.
question on that very subject. Is the problem that somebody with a pool wants a hot tub? Or is the problem that somebody with 2 accessory structures already wants a hot tub?
Right now,
Or both of those?
I think more of the problem was that somebody on the lakefront couldn't put a spa on in their lakefront yard.
Right.
Couldn't do
Originally,
it.
yeah.
Couldn't do it.
Right.
No matter what they had. Or didn't have.
So now we're just allowing it, but we need to define it for all properties.
Well, it just feels like we're overthinking it. If the objective was, is people couldn't, prior to this, put a spa in the front, in the lakeside yard.
Right.
We fixed that, and it's a structure, so it should just meet the definition
I
of
don't,
any other.
I disagree that we're overthinking because
Because we
we're
did
actually
that
putting
before,
something
and they
together
came
for an
and
ordinance and we want to make sure we think through
Yeah.
completely on it.
Yeah.
And do it the right way the first time.
Second time.
I agree with you, Paul, but
I understand.
you can't overthink it.
I support what was said where you can have, you can have a pool, or I guess it's just, you can have 2 accessory structures.
plus
Because
a hot
that solves
tub or
it for a
spa.
pool, and it solves it for a shed.
Yeah, and a chicken coop.
And a coop. Yeah.
A shed or a
Build a chicken coop and not have chickens.
kitchen or chimney or whatever down, by the lakeside, right? Cabana, whatever.
Okay, so I think everybody's in agreement. We hear a motion to make the changes and send the council for approval,
I think we need another public
a
hearing.
public hearing,
Because
okay?
we've actually changed it enough.
You really Did change it.
Okay.
And I think we should have that.
Do we have enough idea of what that's going to look like to be able to set that hearing down?
Well, I think Tom read the one change that we were going to make, and then the second change we would make is to the accessory structures section that says someone can have 2 accessory structures plus 1 spa, hot tub, or similar structure.
Yeah, that's easy.
So those would be the only 2 changes. And I can bring it back next month, and, next month's November, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
So does that
Look
mean
like
we're
anybody on
having a-
lakefront's
does that mean
got a
we're
hot tub
having
for
a
Christmas.
December meeting?
Or maybe they are.
No, I think we should wait till January to have the public meeting.
okay, so
Or
people are
February.
in town.
Maybe
Nobody's gonna
even,
be doing, yeah.
well, January is late enough in the month. But what do you think?
Well, I'm just thinking as we move closer to the springtime, people are gonna be thinking about it. Of course, then you gotta plan ahead. You're right, January when we go.
I think,
I just don't want to do it in November, December, when people are going to say, well, I couldn't make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll come back for council.
You snuck it in there on me.
I can't make
can we
it.
word the motion at next meeting?
There you
And
go.
not set a date? Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I don't, are we having a next meeting?
Except that we have to have the public notification.
Oh,
The next
good
meeting
point.
is
You have
January.
to schedule a meeting that time
We
anyway.
can still say next meeting, and
Yes.
then it just falls on Tabitha to
Yeah.
solve it for us.
Okay, we're Tabitha.
January. Perfect. Okay, while we're at it, can we get rid of the next 2 meetings, or is that another item?
That's another item.
You already canceled November last week, didn't you?
Yeah.
Last month.
We need the motion on the spas first.
Let's
I'll
have a
make a motion to change the language in the ordinance as discussed in this meeting.
Second.
Okay, motion by Weber, second by Thorne. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
And do we need a separate
So
motion for the
can I
public
make a
hearing?
motion that we have a public hearing in January?
Is that motion going to say and hold a public hearing at the next meeting, or are we just making
If-
changes first?
We feel that the changes are not significant enough to have it come back to review. So we'd like to approve the changes now and send to public hearing without reviewing it again. Yeah.
So, and schedule it, and schedule it.
As discussed, and schedule a public hearing at the next planning.
Yes,
commission.
please, yes.
That's what I heard.
Thank you.
Okay, so that, even though what Scott just said about the meetings is not on our agenda, we should discuss that at some point. I don't know if we should add it to the agenda at this point, or if it's too late, or put it under announcements.
Covered under announcements.
Announcements?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, that brings us to liaison reports. Council, Mr. Nedrow.
Yeah, well, October, we ended up reappointing Mr. Clark, Mr. Fredericks, and Mr. Thorne, and Mr. Weber back to the Planning Commission. You guys are on until 2026. We've reappointed Mr. Lindman to the Planning Commission liaison to Parks and Rec, Mr. Snyder back on as Water Management Board, and Brandon as liaison to the ZBA. And then we were able to, Chief Ellsworth gave a letter of commendation to Zach Tustin, which was Pam Kaznecki's grandson, who Kaznecki's house caught on fire. They had a lightning strike during a big storm in August.
Wow.
And their grandson smelled smoke, and they were just going to bed, and got him out, wake up, and
Is that Angola?
yeah, and got him out of the
Yeah, I can
house,
see that
and
from my
they had smoke
house.
damage.
I wasn't there.
Day before the
But everybody was okay, so they were able to get the fire up. Let's see, we approved the $2,500 for Stocking Lake with walleye fingerlings, which should be either in or going in very soon. And let's see, what else was there?
Oh, you didn't ask them.
That's pretty much most of the stuff.
Okay, thanks for the fine report,
fingerlings
Mr.
is
Nedrow. That brings us to
$500
Parks and Rec. Brian Lindman.
Yeah, well, we had our usual meeting, and we just concluded our Halloween decorating contest. In fact, we had a work session at 6 o'clock this evening to Park and Rec to vote and determine all the winners, which we've done. Yeah, that was our cheat sheet. We ended up meeting upstairs. So we settled on all the winners. They'll get their $50 awards for each category, and then planning for snacks with Santa and letters to Santa and the last couple little events for the year, and that's pretty much it.
Nice. Okay, thank you, sir. That brings us to ZBA, and that would be Mr. Brandon Thorne.
I was not able to make the last meeting, unfortunately. Patrick, were you there though?
Well, I was going to comment, we didn't have our regularly scheduled meeting this past
Oh,
October.
that's right.
And then really the only other thing to report is also the November 21st meeting was canceled. So those are really the only two
Okay,
to mention.
okay, well, thank you. That brings us to Water Management Board, Mr. Paul Snyder.
We talked about trying to get a PSA out there about winter safety. We know we can't tell people when ice is safe or unsafe. No ice is safe, but we want to get some messages out there to get people to be careful. We're working a little bit with the interactive map to make sure, we're going to check that out and try and make sure it gives us the information we want to get. Pardon me. And we've suspended our meetings until February unless something comes up. So,
Okay.
Their meetings are
You're not
frozen.
an ice management.
All right, thank you very much.
what's that? What's that?
That brings us to announcements, and we need to figure out whether we're going to have a meeting in November and December.
It's not November, we canceled already.
Canceled already, yeah, I thought we did.
Last month.
So December, gosh, the fourth Thursday falls right on the,
I make a motion, we
Christmas is
cancel
on
the
Monday this
December
year, so-
meeting.
And I'll second it.
We're going to forego?
Yeah.
Okay, motion by Frederick, seconded by Clark. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, well, that's all
The
set.
rest of your,
Yes, and then I would love to hear the motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
I think Lemon beat you, seconded by Clark.
I will second it. I was not trying to be greedy about it.
Okay, well, thanks for your, all your time and effort, you guys. Appreciate the help. And have a great weekend.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Happy holidays.
And New Year's.